They told you the weight was what defined him. They told you that responsibility was a life sentence handed down to a boy who didn't even have time to choose his own face. For decades, we've dissected Peter Parker through the lens of the burden, the Sisyphean youth, pushing a boulder of guilt up a mountain, only to watch it roll back down at the dawn of every new tragedy. But what if we've been looking at the wrong map? What if the tragedy of Spider-Man isn't the weight he carries, but the terrifying vastuality of what he has become? See, the old perspective is obsessed with the self. It's obsessed with the Peter who suffers, the Peter who loses his job, the Peter who fails those he loves. It treats the mask as a barrier, but that's a lie. When he steps off the ledge of a skyscraper, Peter Parker doesn't disappear, he expands. He stops being a person and starts being a between. He is the nervous system of New York City, a living, breathing rhizome of steel, web, and intuition. While the average citizen is trapped in the two-dimensional geometry of the sidewalk moving in straight lines from point A to point B, the spider inhabits the volume. He inhabits the flow. He is the only entity that truly sees the invisible threads connecting the penthouse to the gutter. In this reboot of perspective, we are moving past the great responsibility cliché. We aren't here to talk about the cost of being a hero. We've already paid that bill in blood and isolation. Today, we deconstruct the anatomy of connection. We're going to explore why the spider sense isn't a warning, but a terrifying state of absolute presence. If you think you know why he stays in the suit, you're still looking at the ground. To understand what comes next, you have to let go of the sidewalk. Because where we're going, the web isn't a rope that ties him to duty. It's the only thing keeping reality from shattering into a million pieces. This is Spider-Man, reimagined. This is the architecture of the infinite now. To understand the spider's new existence, we have to look at the city not as a collection of buildings, but as a map of intensities. Most people experience New York as a grid, a rigid, hierarchical structure of north and south, up and down, rich and poor. But the spider operates in the cracks of that hierarchy. Philosophers like Gilles Deleuze spoke of the rhizome, a system that functions like a weed or a subterranean network, where any point can be connected to any other point, regardless of its status. This is the spider's true habitat. He is the ultimate transgressor of space. He ignores the locked door, the gated community, and the vertical divide. When Peter Parker swings, he is performing a ritual of radical connectivity. He links the gargoyle of a Gothic cathedral to the rusted fire escape of a tenement building. In that moment of flight, the city ceases to be a set of obstacles and becomes a singular, vibrating organism. This is why the secret identity is a much deeper philosophical problem than just protecting Aunt May. It's about the dissolution of the ego. Every time he puts on the mask, the individual named Peter Parker, with his debts, his hunger, and his grief, is swallowed by the network. He becomes a node, a junction where the information of the city flows through. This creates a terrifying form of freedom that most heroes are too afraid to embrace. Batman is a symbol of order. He wants to fix the grid. Superman is an ideal of height. He watches from above. But Spider-Man is the flow itself. He doesn't want to fix the system from the outside. He is the friction within it. This is the body without organs, a state where he is no longer defined by his human limitations, but by his capacity to affect and be affected by everything around him. Think about the physical act of webbing. It is an externalization of his own internal biology, reaching out to grab the world and pull it closer. It's a literal manifestation of the desire to connect. However, this level of connectivity comes with a psychic price that goes beyond mere exhaustion. If you are connected to everything, you feel everything. The vibration of a distant siren isn't just noise. It's a tug on the thread. The scream in an alleyway 3 blocks over isn't an event. It's a physiological reflex. He has traded the privacy of a human soul for the omnipresence of an urban ghost. He is the only one who truly knows the city's secrets, because he is the only one who doesn't stop at the walls. He is the ghost in the machine of the metropolis, the glitch that keeps the system from becoming a static, dead thing. By rejecting the traditional boundaries of the self, he has become something that the old morality of right and wrong can no longer contain. He is a force of pure, kinetic relation. If the city is a network, then the spider sense is the frequency that allows him to tune into its every heartbeat. In the old narrative, we treated this ability as a simple biological alarm, a tingle at the base of the skull that says, move left or duck. But that is a reductive, almost mechanical view of what is actually a profound metaphysical state. The spider sense is the total collapse of the before and the after. It is the manifestation of what Henri Bergson called duration, the idea that time is not a series of distinct ticks on a clock, but a continuous, flowing whole. For Peter Parker, the future isn't something that happens later. It is something that is already pressing against his skin. This is the hidden trauma of his existence. Most humans live with the luxury of the unexpected. We inhabit a world where the next second is a mystery, providing us with the room to breathe, to wonder, and to be surprised. But the spider is denied the sanctuary of the unknown. To be the spider is to live in a permanent state of preemptive grief. He feels the punch before it is thrown. He senses the bridge collapsing before the first bolt snaps. His consciousness is stretched across a temporal horizon that no human mind was ever designed to withstand. This isn't reflex. This is a psychic drowning in the causality of the world. Imagine the sensory overload of being hyper-aware of every variable in a 10-block radius. The shift in wind pressure that signals a falling object, the subtle change in the hum of the city's power grid, the rhythmic breathing of a predator hiding in the shadows. He doesn't think about these things. He is these things. This is where the reboot of his character truly begins to differ from the traditional hero archetype. He is not a man who reacts to crime. He is a biological antenna that can no longer turn off the signal. This state of being forces us to reconsider the concept of choice. If you can see the ripple in the water before the stone even hits the surface, do you truly have the freedom to look away? The spider sense effectively erases the boundary between is and ought. To perceive the catastrophe is to be morally fused to it. In this light, the spider is the ultimate prisoner of the present moment. He is locked in a state of absolute presence, a Zen-like nightmare where there is no later, only an infinite, demanding now. He is a creature of pure intuition, operating at a speed that renders human logic obsolete. When he moves, he isn't deciding. He is flowing through the only path that the universe has left open for him. It is a dance of necessity, a high-wire act where the wire is made of his own nerves, stretched thin across the skyline of a city that never stops screaming for his attention. The greatest myth of Spider-Man is that there is a man behind the mask. We cling to the idea of Peter Parker as the real person and the spider as the performance. But as the network of the city expands and the intuition of the now takes over, that distinction begins to dissolve. We are witnessing the slow, deliberate erasure of the ego. In the traditional hero's journey, the mask is a tool used to protect the private life. For the spider, the private life has become the ghost, a flickering memory of a boy who once had the right to be selfish. This is the philosophy of the functional entity. Peter Parker does not put on the mask to become someone else. He puts it on to stop being himself. The mask is the vacuum in which the I is sucked out, leaving only the action. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch as one who creates their own values, but the spider goes a step further. He becomes the value itself. He is no longer a subject acting upon the world. He is the world acting through a specific shape. When he is midair, swinging between the canyons of glass, there is no internal monologue about rent or lost love. Those are human concerns, and in the flow of the spider, humanity is a weight that must be shed to achieve terminal velocity. This erasure is what makes him so terrifyingly effective and so deeply tragic. We often pity him for his bad luck, but luck is a human concept based on the expectation of fairness. The spider has moved beyond the expectation of fairness. He has accepted that Peter Parker is the sacrifice the city demands to keep its heart beating. This is not the great responsibility of a nephew. This is the biological necessity of a predator, protector. The social mask of the dorky photographer is the real fiction, a clumsy, desperate attempt to mimic a human life that he no longer truly inhabits. The solitude of the spider is not the loneliness of a man without friends. but the loneliness of an apex observer. He is the only one who sees the city as a whole, and that vision is a wall that separates him from everyone he tries to save. You cannot explain the vibration of the world to someone who only feels the ground. You cannot share the burden of seeing the future with someone who lives safely in the past. By becoming the node of all connections, he has severed the only connection that mattered, the one to his own humanity. He has become a functional god in a polyester suit, a being whose only purpose is to maintain the equilibrium of a chaotic system. He is the stitch in the fabric that refuses to let the seam rip, even as the thread itself begins to fray and break under the tension. So, we arrive at the final question. If the ego is erased, if the time is a collapse of now, and if the hero is just a node in a never-ending network, why does he keep jumping? Why does he choose to stay in the air? The answer isn't found in a moral code or a promise made to a dead man. It's found in the leap itself. This is the absurd hero reimagined. Albert Camus argued that we must imagine Sisyphus happy because he has found a way to own his struggle. But the spider doesn't just own the struggle. He finds a terrifying, kinetic beauty within it. The leap is the only moment where the spider is truly free. In that split second between the rooftop and the web swing, he is neither Peter Parker nor the hero. He is pure potential. He is the glitch that refuses to be corrected by the gravity of the world. This is the ultimate reboot of our understanding. Being Spider-Man isn't a curse of responsibility. It is a rebellion against the static nature of existence. He continues not because he expects to win, but because the act of continuing is the only thing that proves he is alive. We've spent decades looking at the spider and seeing a tragedy of sacrifice. But if we change our perspective, we see something else entirely. We see a creature that has transcended the smallness of a single life to become the pulse of a civilization. He is the proof that even in a world of cold steel and indifferent crowds, a single thread can hold the weight of a soul. He is the guardian of the between, the one who stands at the edge of the abyss and decides to weave a bridge instead of falling in. As the sun sets over the skyline, and the neon lights begin to flicker like synapses in a giant brain, the spider is still there. He isn't waiting for a thank you or a moment of rest. He is waiting for the next vibration, the next pull on the thread, the next chance to lose himself in the flow. Because in the end, the story of Spider-Man isn't about a boy who grew up too fast. It's about the magnificent, terrifying possibility of what happens when we stop trying to carry the world and start trying to connect it. He is the rhythm of the city. He is the echo in the alley. He is the thread that binds us all together in the dark. And as long as there is a gap to be bridged, as long as there is a fall to be caught, he will be there hanging by a thread, defying the gravity of despair, and inviting us to look up and see the world not as a burden, but as a web of infinite, beautiful light. The leap doesn't end, the cycle doesn't break, and for the first time we realize he wouldn't have it any other way.